because this is where my, whatever professional career thing I have is in the United States. And so, like everybody else, I have to have a New York space to work.
I went to live in New York because I thought that my career path here as an artist was being blocked. If I hadn't gone to New York, I wouldn't have been able to develop as an artist. Because my career between 1962 and 66 was being held together by a notion about this unusual black artist that I was told in so many words that, there was no room for. But going to New York allowed me a couple of things. One, there were oodles of artists who also happened to be black and who were having struggles with the scene there. And as I said, the 5+1 came along because we found solidarity in this group, this small group of artists, and attempting, since there was a tremendous tension going on between the overall number of black artists around in the United States and these particular New York artists who were making abstract art. I felt this fellow feeling, this kinship, and I started trying to tease out what it was that we shared, right, these group of black artists. The second must be the fact that being in America continues to afford me a kind of spine to go on, energy that is very sustaining to somebody like myself because of the sharpness of the critical atmosphere there. And I suppose I feel part of that.
As this surface is cooking, I'm looking to find newness, things that I haven't seen anywhere before. The liquid that I use it to create these pools, and they are pools, can at times mislead me. So I wait for the pools to dry out for me to establish whether I've gotten close to what my intentions are. And my intentions are never fixed. I'm hoping to find new things in the work. In the early days, in the 80s, for instance, when I made Odysseus' Footfall, by this point I would have been taking the saturated surface up to the wall and let the various pools and liquid running material gradually to do another thing. I'm letting the floor dictate what the image looks like. And due to the fact of the drying process, the floor rises and falls with the amount, the atmosphere in the room, with the amount of liquid on it and the atmosphere in the room. This will be sitting here for the next few days until we get back from Detroit, and even then it probably won't have dried out enough.
When I left London to go and live in New York in 1966, I took with me several small areas of canvas with the screens I'd made, or couldn't be more than, the red and the green. The screens I'd made screened on the image of Bowling's Variety Store. This is my mother's house. I've always called it mother's house because the house actually was built around me. I had to be there to look after the building as it was being built. This kind of colonial architecture was very flat, and the coconut trees behind the house or the side of the house made a very peculiar kind of pattern that also attracted me. And when I got to New York, living in the Hotel Chelsea, I started to work on the floor. And what I did, in an attempt, because I'd started to do that here in London, was to follow the shadows that came in the window of my room. You just flood the paint into the shape of the canvas below the already ready-made image of Boland's Variety Store. And that's how I started working in New York, and gradually I noticed that most of what attracted me tended to have some suggestion of map shapes. And over the next year or so, I learned, with the help of Larry Rivers, how to use an overhead projector to get a precise drawing of the map of South America, the map of Guyana, but that's where I began.
What actually happened was I left the other studio I had and went to London over the Christmas holidays and found that when I came back, the landlord had got all his sort of workmen in and they'd dropped plaster all over the surface. So all my precision went completely askew, and I was about to abandon it. Then I thought, well, I should work on it for a bit, rather like sort of playing around with it, you know, sort of destroying it a little bit more. It's come out of this accident, you know, which literally threw me, but I didn't want to waste that idea.